sat down to write this sermon, I couldn't even begin. And then I realized I needed to start with something that Jews have done for centuries, which is to begin with a blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Blessed are you, eternal God, who frees the captive. You freed the captives. Thank God. The alternative was unimaginable. And of course, it is not only God who deserves gratitude and praise for the freeing of the 4 held captive for 11 hours in a synagogue in Colleyville, Texas, last Shabbat. I'm thanking and blessing Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker, who showed unearthly calm, unflagging humanity, and heroic courage in unthinkable circumstances. And I bless the 3 other congregants who are also my heroes, models of strength and selflessness when they were facing the possible end of their lives. I'm also grateful to Central's head of security, Brian Vaughn, and Mitch Silber, the New York Jewish community's security expert, to law enforcement and FBI for how seriously they took the crisis, and the many Jewish organizations who work to keep our community safe in ways we don't always see or acknowledge. I wanted to begin with gratitude because that was the overwhelming emotion I felt when the siege was over. But after that initial relief, I could not find words because my secondary rush of feelings have been much harder to digest, more ominous. I knew I would be addressing you, my beloved community, and you would want and need words of comfort and hope from your rabbi. But I do not have those words for you. Not yet. I cannot assure you that this will not happen again. I do not have a neat pronouncement for how we will fight back the alarming, ugly growth of anti-Semitism. I cannot tell you that I'm not replaying Rabbi Citron Walker's unfaltering voice on my voicemail. We have an actual gunman who is claiming to have bombs, and he wants to talk to you. If you can call me back at this number, that would be greatly appreciated. This is not a joke. Thank God, this terrifying episode ended safely, but not simply, and I remain deeply unsettled. And if you are a Jew in America and you are not feeling unsettled, then you are not paying attention. I'm unsettled because the world only has the most simplistic understanding of anti-Semitism. If someone says they hate Jews or they want to kill Jews, we call it anti-Semitism. But even educated people, the director of the FBI, do not recognize its far more insidious guise as the trope that Jews are all-powerful and control everything. We saw how dangerous that age-old conspiracy theory can be. I'm unsettled because I saw firsthand that you cannot negotiate with a terrorist. And more people in our country and around the globe are captivated by terrifying, hateful ideologies which they value more than their own lives. I'm unsettled because Rabbi Citron Walker's kindness and humanity were used against him. He opened his doors to this man and gave him a cup of tea. This rabbi welcomes the stranger, and this is his reward? We have to protect ourselves. We cannot be naive. But I also know that if we only build fortresses around our sanctuaries and around our hearts, then hate wins I'm unsettled because I heard the terrifying voice of radical extremism filtered through the mind of a deranged person who was able to get a gun and then hold 4 people and an entire Jewish community hostage for 11 hours. I think of the ripple effects that this man set off and the countless resources that we will spend to prevent it from happening again. When the gunman called me a second time, he said, "I'm running out of patience, and you are running out of time." I had already talked to the authorities. I knew there was nothing else I could do but wait and pray. And I really prayed. A trembling, pleading prayer, the words we've already said tonight, the same words I heard that Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker uttered when he was being held in captivity. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Help us lie down in peace, Adonai, and to rise up to life renewed. You could say that my prayer, all of our prayers, were answered. The prayers of those 4 families and the congregation, the prayers of a breathless worldwide Jewish community. But we've emerged, and now we are angry and anxious and fearful. And I cannot tell you not to feel those things. I am feeling them myself, and I don't quite know what to do next. But I knew that this was not where I could end this sermon. So I looked to our Torah portion. This week it's Parshat Yitro, Jethro. And the message was so pertinent, it almost felt like God was winking at me. Right there, the line jumped out. Lo tuchal asehu levadecha. You cannot do this alone. This was Jethro's line to Moses, who was consumed under the weight of leadership. But this message is truly for all of us. None of us can do this alone. I know I could not have been on those calls on Saturday without my husband Jacob right at my side and Rabbi Citron Walker's steady voice on the other side. I know I felt lifted by all the notes, the love, and the care I felt from this congregation, all of you, from my central colleagues, my Hartman rabbis, my friends. I could not do this without all of you showing up tonight, whether in this sanctuary or online. You are showing up not just for Central, but for Judaism. You're showing up for fearlessness in the face of fear. None of us can do this alone, even as this pandemic has tested us and forced us to feel more alone than we ever thought we would have to be. But our tradition keeps pushing us back into community and tells us not only that we need to do this with each other, but we need to create bridges outside the Jewish community as well. It is important that the person who shared the essential wisdom of this Torah portion, Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, is not Jewish. I saw every faith community show up for us last weekend, and I want to thank our interfaith clergy colleagues who are showing up for us tonight. And a big thank you to our Mayor, Eric Adams. It was so deeply meaningful and reassuring that you were here. We need to partner with people of every faith and of good faith in the fight against anti-Semitism and racism and radical extremism and hatred of every kind. We cannot do it alone. And thank God we don't have to. I began with one blessing, and I want to conclude with another, taken from Zechariah. The Reform movement incorporated these prophetic words into the service on Tisha B'Av, which is the day that commemorates so many of the most tragic episodes of Jewish history. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher asanu asirei tikva. Blessed are you, Adonai, who makes us captives of hope. I'm not yet ready to muster a message of optimism tonight, but I cannot escape it eventually, because we, as a Jewish people, are unshakably, doggedly, eternally captives of hope. Shabbat Shalom.